The War in Sudan, A Tale of Conflict and Hope. Chapter 1, The Seeds of Conflict. In the heart of Africa lies the ancient country of Sudan, a nation rich in cultural heritage and natural resources. The Nile River runs through its midst, with both the Blue and White Niles meet in its capital city. However, beneath its diverse and vibrant surface, the country has been scarred by decades of conflict. The roots of Sudan's troubles can be traced back to its colonial past, ethnic divisions, and competition for resources. Following independence from British Egyptian rule in 1956, Sudan's fragile unity began to unravel. Tensions between the Arab-dominated government in the north and the predominantly African ethnic groups in the south led to the First Sudanese Civil War, 1955 to 1972. Despite a peace agreement, the underlying issues remained unresolved, setting the stage for future conflict. Chapter 2, The Second Civil War and the Birth of South Sudan. The Second Sudanese Civil War erupted in 1983, fueled by disputes over religion, oil, and governance. The conflict pitted the Sudanese government against the Sudan People's Liberation Army, SPLA, a southern rebel group. This war lasted over 2 decades, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 2 million people and displacing millions more. Amidst the devastation, a ray of hope emerged. In 2005, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, CPA, was signed, bringing an end to the fighting and granting the South autonomy. This agreement paved the way for a historic referendum in 2011, where the people of South Sudan voted overwhelmingly for independence. On July 9, 2011, South Sudan became the world's newest nation, marking a moment of triumph and new beginnings. Chapter 3, Darfur, A Humanitarian Crisis. While South Sudan embarked on its journey as an independent nation, another region in Sudan was engulfed in turmoil. In 2003, conflict erupted in Darfur, a region in western Sudan, between the government-backed Janjaweed militia and local rebel groups. The Darfur conflict was characterized by widespread atrocities, including mass killings, rape, and displacement. The international community was horrified by the scale of the crisis. The United Nations estimated that hundreds of thousands were killed and millions displaced. Despite numerous peace efforts, the situation in Darfur remained dire, highlighting the complexities of Sudan's internal conflicts. Chapter 4, Recent Unrest and a Glimmer of Hope. In 2019, Sudan experienced a significant turning point. Longtime President Omar al-Bashir, who had been in power since a 1989 coup, was ousted following months of popular protests demanding democracy, economic reform, and justice. A transitional government was established, consisting of both civilian and military leaders, tasked with guiding the country towards democratic elections. However, the road to peace and stability in Sudan remained fraught with challenges. In 2020, a peace agreement was signed with several rebel groups, including factions from Darfur and the southern regions, raising hopes for a more inclusive and peaceful future. Yet, sporadic violence and political tensions continued to threaten the fragile progress. Chapter 5, The Latest War. In April 2023, a fighting between rival armed factions broke out in the Sudanese capital of Khartoum, raising fears of a return to full-scale civil war. The conflict is primarily a power struggle between the leaders of the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, and a powerful paramilitary group known as the Rapid Support Forces, RSF. The two groups, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohamed Hamdan Himeti Dagalo, respectively, are battling one another for control of the state and its resources. As the conflict deepens, humanitarian conditions are declining, and the promise of a long-awaited democratic transition diminishes. Chapter 6: The Road Ahead. The story of the war in Sudan is one of immense suffering, but also of resilience and hope. As the country navigates its complex path towards peace, the international community remains watchful and supportive. The lessons learned from Sudan's turbulent history underscore the importance of inclusive governance, respect for human rights, and sustainable development. For the people of Sudan, the dream of lasting peace and prosperity endures. Despite the scars of war, their spirit remains unbroken, and their determination to build a better future for themselves and their children shines as a beacon of hope in a land that has known too much darkness. A famous African leader, Haile Selassie, once said, "Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere is war. And until there are no longer first-class and second-class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. And until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, there is war. And until that day, the dream of lasting peace, world citizenship, rule of international morality, will remain but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. Now everywhere is war." Also in another quote, "We must become bigger than we have been, more courageous, greater in spirit, larger in outlook. We must become members of a new race, overcoming petty prejudice, owing our ultimate allegiance not to nations but to our fellow men within the human community." As Sudan continues its journey, the world watches with cautious optimism, hoping that the nation will finally find the peace it so desperately deserves. Vive Africa!